This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, guys. I'm trying to sit further back so that I'm not like so in your face during these recordings, but Jesus, that's not working. People are clicking off as I organize my microphone here. All right, well, I guess I can't sit further back really because I don't know. I can't tell if you're able to hear me or what's happening. I wish I could make this camera. First of all, I wish I could make it better. I wish I could make it push back. Anyways, if you couldn't guess, this is a bonus episode. So for all of you who really dislike, I guess I could hold the microphone like this, huh? For all of you who really dislike this type of chit-chatty, just shooting the breeze type thing, here's your warning. This is a little bit chit-chatty. Now, I do have a very mini crime story. It's like a teeny mini crime story. And it's an interesting one. So I had this idea, I don't know, a few weeks ago where I thought maybe instead of a mini crime story, I'll do like true crime headlines from the week, and we'll just do a little snippet of each one because that feels inevitably with the mini crime story, it never ends up being that mini. Like I end up spending hours and hours researching it, and then it turns into like a full 45-minute episode, which if you like the show and you enjoy listening, then that's probably a positive thing for you. For me, I was looking more to like be able to just share something that's like 20 minutes that doesn't take, days to research. And it's my own fault. I'm not good at that. Once I get into it, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to keep researching and I'm going to really tell this story. Uh, so I thought, okay, well, I'll do true crime headlines because these are things that just happen. So there isn't days and hours of research that can be done because it's new. And that's it. I don't know. I didn't go anywhere with it. So, but I do have one that was a true crime headline and I just kind of extended it. So I'm over explaining, obviously, but I figured why not? I have a little bit of time right now. I have to go pick up Jinx from doggy daycare. I forget that I share a lot more on Patreon than I do on here, like a lot these days. Uh, and so maybe listeners aren't familiar with that. I walk a dog every week, and his name is Jinx. And sometimes when it's too hot, she has me take him or pick him up from doggy daycare instead of walking him. So that's what I'm doing today. And I know that I mentioned on Patreon, this morning maybe. So I do this thing on Patreon called the morning walk and talk. And I walk the dogs every morning around 5:30. And sometimes I don't want to listen to a podcast or listen to music. So sometimes I feel like talking to someone. And sometimes I do talk to my friend Jackie. But a lot of times I I'll talk to Patreon because I've really gotten to know a lot of the patrons on Patreon. I don't even like to say patrons, friends on Patreon. And everybody on Patreon has been such a, I don't know, it feels like friends. Unfortunately, it's a kind of one-sided friendship where where they know way more about me than I know about them. However, they're always like a wonderful sounding board whenever I'm struggling with something or need to talk something out. It's just like a really wonderful little community of people who are on there. So a lot of times in the mornings, I'll just be walking the dogs and I'll just have like a full on conversation for 45 minutes with Patreon. And so I know I did that this morning, and I believe I mentioned this job interview that I had today. So I just got off of it and I thought it was going really well. And then I don't know. he kind of like abruptly ended, and it could be because I talked too long. I don't know. It was at 10:30, so it's not even 11 yet. So it wasn't even 30 minutes. It's for a producer role for a podcast called the All In Podcast. I don't know if anybody's ever listened to it. I had not listened to it. I'd heard of it, but not listened to it until I found out that they were looking for a producer, and then I've been listening to it. It's like they cover all things tech, business. Um, I wrote down some notes because sometimes, you get nervous on an interview and I don't want to like, even though I know what the podcast is about. Yeah, they cover everything from crypto to climate. It's like a community driven podcast. So they do a lot of live podcast events. They have a lot of listener question stuff. So it's not a podcast topic that I'm super well versed in, business and technology. I do love technology, but politics, business, technology, it's not something that I would consider myself well versed in. So I was a little nervous about that, but he didn't, as a producer, it's helpful if you know the topic, if you're familiar with the topic, and by producing, you inevitably would become familiar with the topic, but it's not necessarily essential that you are like an expert on it. You're not hosting the podcast. So, uh, yeah, but they do. It's very popular. It's like always the number one business or technology podcast, and I feel like listening to it, I would definitely become more well versed in business and technology. I'm not sure how many times I can say business and technology in the under 2 minutes here. Uh, so I don't know. I would love to take on another freelance producing role. Gym is obviously my priority and has been my priority, but I'm it's not a full-time job, so I would love to have another producer role. Uh, and this one I think would probably be challenging, which I like. So I don't know. We'll see. I did think it was going well, and then I'm not sure. So I guess we'll find out. I'll keep you posted. But I was already sitting down with the headphones and the microphone. See, there was a point to that. And I thought, well, I do have this like, extra mini little story that I could share. And also, I haven't hopped on and done just kind of a bonus where I'm just chit chatting for a long time. I don't have, I don't have, I didn't prepare anything. I should have, because whenever I'm throughout my week, I write down little things to share on Patreon. And I will be honest, I kind of got tired of the comments of like, you talk too much and we don't give a shit about your life and all that. I know I shouldn't care. I know so many listeners have written in, have left comments and been like, who cares what people say? Do what you're doing. And if they don't like it, like they can go elsewhere, which agreed. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm human. Sometimes it gets to me. And I was like, well, I would love to grow Death by Southwest. And if I'm going to do that, I should really stick to what it was started to be, which was a true crime podcast. And I do enjoy telling the true crime stories, and I do love researching and writing them. I know I've talked about it. I do have like a small ethical conundrum within me. Obviously, not so much that I'm going to stop doing the podcast, but me and Jenna used to talk about that if my mom, if she hadn't just died of cancer, if she had been murdered and some total strangers had a podcast episode about her, I would be pissed. I don't think I would like it. And so that's super hypocritical of me for doing this, which is where the ethical kind of, I don't want to romanticize or like whatever these people, the worst day, the worst event in a lot of these people's lives. So I don't know why I felt the need to talk about that. I've talked about it before. But yeah, I usually write down things like throughout the week or save articles that I come across or stuff like that to share on Patreon sometimes. And I don't have any of that in front of me. I just was already sitting here. So I'm just gonna go with it. I don't really have any, not that Not that anyone's dying to hear personal updates, but I don't have too many personal updates. Um, I think I've been doing a better job of just getting on Tuesdays and just doing the podcast. No chit chat, no sense of place because we've covered most of these places. So, and I've given up on the mouth sounds. My mouth makes sounds. This is my microphone filter. This is how it's going to go. I have noticed though, it has made me self-aware of that I go like this, like in between sentences or something. I don't know. And I guess that could be annoying to people, but moving right along, people are tired of hearing about that. Um, yeah, I guess I can just go ahead and tell uh, this little mini, teeny tiny mini crime story. And I don't even know if we could call it a crime story. It's such a weird story. So let's dive into it. It's a wild story of Ryan Borgwart. And I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong, but I'm going to keep saying it like that. Borgwart, because I don't know how else you would say it. So it's a wild story of Ryan Borgwart, a man who tried to vanish but couldn't quite stay gone. So on August 12th, 2023, Borgwart, I'm sorry, we're going to say Ryan instead. On August 12th, 2023, Ryan set out for a solo kayaking trip on Green Lake in Wisconsin. And Green Lake is one of Wisconsin's deepest inland lakes. And if this was a full episode, I would be able to tell you how deep it is, but I didn't research that. Should we look? No, we'll keep going. So, one of Wisconsin's deepest inland lakes. Solo kayaking on this lake. Hours pass by. And then a full day passes by and he has not come back yet. So when he didn't return, panic set in and he was reported missing by his family. And then the search began. Pretty quickly, searchers found Ryan's capsized kayak along with his vehicle, trailer, and fishing gear at a nearby park. The scene looked not great. It looked pretty believable that it was fatal, that something bad had happened here. For the next 7 weeks, the Green Lake County Sheriff's Office searched for Ryan's body with the help of trained volunteers. What none of these volunteers or searchers knew yet was that Ryan was not dead. He was halfway through a carefully planned escape. According to prosecutors, Ryan had planted a life jacket, a fishing pole, and a tackle box in the kayak to make it look like he drowned. In his own words, he had said, "Everything hinged on me dying in that lake. The whole idea was to sell the death." But instead of floating lifelessly beneath the surface, Ryan was on an electric bike headed to Madison, Wisconsin. So, how? If his kayak and all of his gear capsized, like how did he get to his electric bike? That's where my mind went. So he used a small inflatable boat to return to the shore. Apparently it was like kid size, like very small inflatable boat to return to the shore where he had stashed an electric bike. He got on the bike and started the 80 to 100-mile trip to, I have Milwaukee and Madison. So he was going to one of those places. From there, I think it was Milwaukee. From there, nope, Madison. And then he took a bus from Madison to Milwaukee. Then he took a bus to Chicago. Then he took a bus to Detroit. Then he went into Canada and then a flight to Paris and then a flight to another country in Eastern Europe, Western Asia. Some reports, that's all they said. And then some reports said to the country of Georgia was the plan. That was his plan. But his plan, and he got pretty far in this plan. His plan was almost ruined by Canadian Border Patrol, though. They were kind of suspicious that he didn't have a driver's license because he had ditched his wallet and ID in the lake, and then he had used his real passport to get into Canada, which ultimately this will lead to the death of his plan. Not his death, but the death of his plan. But we'll get there in a second. So once he got into Canada, so once he's uh and then he gets, hold on. I want to make sure I don't tell this wrong. Uh so he did, I think he got as far as he was meaning to go. Yeah, to an Eastern Europe, Western Asia country slash maybe Georgia. Um, so while he was abroad, he emailed a woman who picked him up at the airport. The two of them stayed at a hotel for a few days, and investigators found that he had $5,500 in cash, a new foreign bank account, and that he had been in contact with a woman from Uzbekistan. He used a VPN to hide his location. And apparently, he was checking American news stories to see if there was anything out there on his disappearance. Before he had left, though, for this whole like disappearing act, he took out a $375,000 life insurance policy, which was, I guess, intended to help his family in his absence, which was very confusing for me to read because this guy is faking his own death to escape his family, but he's leaving them almost $500,000. Interesting. So in October, Canadian authorities informed investigators, because they had caught wind of this whole like looking for Ryan thing, that Ryan had crossed into Canada on August 13th, just one day after he was reported missing. So he moved quickly with this plan. Uh, this is, again, this is weird to me. So, well, I have an explanation, but I had to read this like 5 times, so bear with me. So his original passport, remember I said he went into Canada with his personal passport. His original passport was still at his family's home. I read that and I thought, I'm missing something here. But stick with me. So the discovery of this passport at his family's home gave investigators a crucial lead. This caused that they were like, well, how did he get into Canada with his passport if his passport's here? So it caused them to take a closer look at his digital footprint. And they found that Ryan had swapped out his laptop's hard drive, wiped his browser history on the day that he vanished. He also filed a false report claiming that his passport was stolen and it had obtained a replacement months earlier. So he had 2 passports. This also suggests that this plan had been in motion for a long time. So Ryan is like living life in Georgia, the country. And then November 8th, an email from the Green Lake County Sheriff's Office popped up in his inbox. And he said that when that email popped up, before he even opened it or read it, he said his heart hit the floor. He knew that he had been caught. By November 21st, Sheriff Mark Padal released a proof of life video that showed Ryan in an apartment in an undisclosed location, confirming that he was alive, that Ryan had sent him himself. Isn't this so weird? So he faked his death, ran away. The police, after months of searching for his body and then realizing, okay, wait, thinking he's not dead, and then finding out that he crossed into Canada, then finding out that he's gone, across the world. They send him an email. In his head, he's like, oh shit, I'm caught. I may as well send them a video proving that I'm alive. What? So authorities get this video from Ryan proving that he's alive. And they're like, please come home. Like, you need to come home. Your family really wants like closure on this, blah, blah, blah. And he did, which is so peculiar to me. So he came home and then he showed up in court. He was arrested wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He was charged with obstruction and faced up to 9 months in jail and a $10,000 fine. When asked about bail, he said, I have $20 in my wallet in the other room. So that's what I have. But because he voluntarily returned, the judge set his bail at $500, which he somehow was able to post that same night, even though he said he only had $20. His wife filed for legal separation. They had been married for 22 years, and she's now seeking sole custody of the kids. Isn't this the strangest thing? So his family, obviously, this was like emotional whiplash for them. They mourned him for weeks. They believed that he was dead. He created a very believable death scene. Then they had to come to terms with the fact that no, he wasn't dead. He just abandoned you. And then he came home. He told investigators once he was caught that he really believed that they would stop searching for him after about 2 weeks. And the sheriff, Mark Padole, said he picked the wrong sheriff in the wrong department. So why did he do it? Like, why did he flee across continents, abandon his family? No one knows. He never has shared that. Only Ryan knows. So the only thing that we know for sure after this story is that you can disappear from a lake, but you can't outrun the truth. Strange, right? I still don't totally understand it, but that's the story. So maybe it'll inspire one of you to like go look into it more. What a cool podcast to like have an episode or to get him on and have him share why he did this. That would be so interesting. I wonder if he's contactable. I think that he was like for 9 months they sentenced him and I believe he's out now. So I don't know. I wish I had another. I do have a couple others, but these are tidbits. These recently happened and there's not a lot of information. So these are just like literally headlines. Um, should we do it? Should we just go into it and cover these three headlines? These are from probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. All right, let's do it. Spring break tragedy in the Dominican Republic. So this first story takes us to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, where 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student Sudiksha Konaki vanished during a spring break trip in early March. Sorry, guys, I am no news reporter. From ABC News, they said the 20-year-old, a legal permanent U.S. resident and an Indian citizen, vanished early Thursday while she and a group of students were on spring break to a resort in Punta Cana, according to the Loudoun County, Virginia Sheriff's Office, which is where she's from. After a night out at a local nightclub, Sudiksha and her friends returned to the resort. Around 4 a.m., she and a group, including 22-year-old Joshua Ribe, went for a swim. Ribe later told authorities that they were caught by a strong wave, and while he managed to make it back to shore, he lost sight of Sudiksha. Her clothes were found on a beach chair nearby, but despite extensive search efforts involving over 300 personnel, her body was not recovered. In the weeks following her disappearance, Sudiksha's parents requested that she be declared deceased, expressing their belief that she drowned. They also urged authorities to clear Ribe, the guy she was with, of any wrongdoing. The case is still under investigation, with both U.S. and Dominican officials involved. This case serves as a somber reminder that the potential dangers that can arise even in a seemingly idyllic vacation spot. This one I'm gonna look more into, see if there's been any more information. I guess I can understand wanting her declared deceased for closure, perhaps, but like only a few weeks. I don't know. If my family member disappeared, I think I'd want to look for more than a few weeks. I don't know. Maybe not. What do you guys think? Okay, this one I totally don't understand, but we're going to do it anyways because we're going to call this like a test episode. Let's see if we like this or not. Let me know. I'm not doing a great job, so imagine that I'm doing a better job and then let me know. if you would like to hear things like this in the future, if I can kind of make it a little bit more succinct. So, a bizarre murder cover up in Tennessee. Uh, this is one of the strangest murder cover ups in recent memory. 45-year-old Nicholas Wayne Hamlet attempted to cover up a murder by staging it as a bear attack. Okay, that sounds easy to understand, right? Guys, I don't get it. NPR said authorities say that Nicholas Wayne Hamlet, 45, befriended and lured his victim into a wooded area to take both his life and identity. Hamlet, who was using an alias at the time, has a lengthy criminal history and was already wanted in Alabama for a parole violation. So in mid October, Hamlet, this Nicholas Wayne Hamlet, called 911, claiming to be a hiker named Brandon Andrade, who had been chased off a cliff by a bear. When rescuers arrived, oh, I get it. It just clicked for me. When rescuers arrived, they found the body of 34-year-old Stephen Douglas Lloyd with Andretti's ID on him. Authorities quickly realized that Hamlet had stolen Andretti's identity and staged the scene to cover up Lloyd's murder. After a weeks-long manhunt, Hamlet was apprehended in South Carolina. He now faces charges of first-degree murder in Tennessee as well as parole violation in Alabama. This case highlights the lengths to which some individuals will go to evade justice and the critical role of thorough investigative work in uncovering the truth. Okay, I don't know why I said that was so hard to understand. I must have been exhausted when I read this because now it is weird. But so this Nicholas Wayne Hamlet stole Brandon Andretti's ID, and then this Nicholas Wayne Hamlet killed a man named Stephen and planted Brandon's ID. Why wouldn't he just like let Stephen be Stephen though? That's what I don't understand. He still could have called and been like, "Hey, I fell off a cliff. I was chased off a cliff by a bear." They would come find Stephen's body and think that he had died before they got there, right? No. And this, let me know your thoughts. This last story, Phoenix yoga instructor's mysterious disappearance and death. This one, I'm hoping there's more information out on this now. I haven't looked in 2 weeks or so. This one's pretty sad. So our final story brings us to Phoenix, Arizona, where 45-year-old yoga instructor Marcus Freeberger vanished after planning to meet a blind date, only to be found weeks later. Freeberger from the Arizona Republic, Freeberger was last seen at a parking garage near 2nd Avenue and Van Buren Street, planning to meet a blind date on February 21st. Marcus was a well-known instructor at Melrose Yoga in Phoenix and a beloved member of the LGBTQ plus community. Friends and family became concerned when they discovered his 2-year-old dog, Thomas, was left alone in his apartment, something that Marcus would never do. A missing persons report was filed on March 14th. On March 19th, Phoenix police found a body at a rock quarry near 15th Avenue and Broadway Road after receiving a call. Investigators from the medical examiner's office arrived to collect the body. It was later identified as Freeberger's. The circumstances surrounding Marcus's disappearance and death remain unclear. His vehicle, a white 2021 GMC Sierra pickup, is still missing, and the investigation is ongoing. Authorities are urging anyone with information to come forward. This tragic case has left the community mourning and seeking answers, underscoring the importance of safety measures when meeting new acquaintances. Sad. This was from a few weeks ago, so maybe there's more information. I'm gonna look into it. That is it for this week's True Crime Headlines. Actually, a few weeks ago's True Crime Headlines. If you liked this format, short, shocking, and perhaps a little disturbing, let me know and we can make this a regular bonus every week. Until next time, stay safe out there. That was the ending that I had previously written for this like little newscast. I like doing that. That's interesting to me to just have these little snippets, but that might be really annoying to you guys to hear like little snippets of news and there's no conclusion really to it. Although the bear one had a conclusion and the fake death had a conclusion. Although it was weird. Anyways, that's all I got for today, guys. I don't know if I've shared on here about the Melvins, the pack rats that are living in my oleander tree in the backyard in the sectioned off bird sanctuary. I probably have mentioned them. I've talked about them extensively on Patreon and shared videos on Patreon. Um, we had a sad occurrence this week that I'm not going to get into because it makes me cry and I don't want to cry at 11:30 in the morning. So if you are interested in the Melvins, I guess I could post the video on Instagram. Head over to Patreon. And I know that this was a little like all over the place. I had only planned on telling the kayak death, the fake kayak death story, not the other mini news stories because they're older, they're not from this week. But I would love your thoughts. If you like something like this, like some version of this you'd be interested in, uh, let me know because I kind of like it. And otherwise, hopefully you will tune in next week for a new Tuesday full true crime episode. Keep sending your suggestions. I love getting them. I know I've gotten a few and I have them written down. If you've suggested a case recently, it is coming up. I have a couple people who have, and they are all in the works. So, and that's it. I hope everyone is having a beautiful week, a lovely Wednesday. Thank you for listening and always sticking with me through all of the ups and downs of this podcast and my life. And uh, that's it. I will talk to you guys soon. Love you all. Goodbye.
Death by Southwest is hosted by Jenna Schneider and Margot Carmichael.
Executive produced by Margot Carmichael.
Produced by Jenna Schneider.
Audio editing and sound design by Margot Carmichael.
Music by Soundstripe.
And a special thanks to Edward R. Murrow for letting us borrow his famous sign-off phrase, good night and good luck.